Am I the a-hole for calling my parents a-holes for what they did to my birthday? I, 21 female, was one of those kids who was born on Christmas Day, which I wouldn't have minded at all if my parents treated this normally. For example, my friend's boyfriend was also born on Christmas, and he said his parents would do his birthday in the morning and Christmas in the afternoon, and I wouldn't have minded that at all. However, my parents said it was greedy to have two celebrations on one day, so I had to choose between having Christmas with everyone else, my family and extended family, or have my birthday on Boxing Day and not take part in Christmas. I wouldn't have any presents or chocolates and stuff everyone else would. I wasn't even allowed to help with the Christmas tree. This was pretty terrible. Either I had Christmas with everyone and wasn't even wished happy birthday, and because we wouldn't be at school, I never got happy birthdays from my friends, or I was completely left out during Christmas and had a birthday where everyone was still focused on Christmas. And if I chose birthday, my parents would tell my extended family I didn't want Christmas. And if I chose Christmas, they said I didn't want my birthday, so I didn't get both for my extended family. It made my childhood absolute hell and ruined holidays for me. My first Christmas/birthday away from home was probably the best day of my life. Well, because of COVID, my family were talking about doing a Zoom call for Christmas, and my mom said, well, I guess OP gets to choose to be part of the Christmas call, or we call her on Boxing Day for her birthday. I don't know why, but I just blew up and called it an a-hole and said they ruined my childhood. It's not like they couldn't afford it. My family is probably in the top 1% of the country money-wise, and even so, I could have still taken part in the festivities and only had one present. But my brothers are calling me selfish, and my auntie says I need to apologize. And it's Christmas, so I feel like I should. Edit. Oh my god, thank you everyone so much. I went to bed last night and woke up to about 1 million notifications. I'm sorry, but I don't think I can get through everyone, but I'm definitely trying to. I've had the best birthday/Christmas. My best friend got me a Nintendo Switch, and we're going to have a huge gaming competition together, and we got leftovers of KFC for lunch. Thank you all so much for the birthday and Christmas wishes. I feel so honored. I love you all. Top comments. Not the a-hole. What were they thinking? What were they thinking? Why would anyone do that to their kid? Maybe I'm biased, but I'd never want my kid to feel like I did. Nor should you. Not the a-hole. Edit. Happy birthday. And Merry Christmas. OP gets to have both. Merry Birthmas. And start telling your family they can celebrate either Christmas or your birthday with you while you celebrate both. Or start having them pick birthday or Christmas and only celebrate what they pick for them. Like, if Aunt says Christmas and her birthday is in August, that sucks. You pick Christmas though, so don't get greedy. Just want to tag along in this comment and say that OP should absolutely do this to the family. Ask them if they want Christmas or birthday, and then only the one they choose. I feel so sorry for OP that they never got the opportunity to spend both Christmas and their birthday with their family. OP was completely justified in their anger towards their parents. OP's parents made them feel like a burden for wanting to celebrate their birthday. It was not OP's fault that they were born on Christmas. Even if OP's family could not afford 2 sets of presents, they could have at least acknowledged their birthday. Ostracizing OP from the family for wanting to celebrate their birthday, or purposefully asking relatives to forget OP's birthday if they choose to attend Christmas, seems so unnecessary and cruel. Luckily, it seems that OP no longer lives with their parents, so they're free to have their cake and eat it too. Am I the a-hole for pretending to not recognize my parents when they tried to reconnect? I was raised mostly by my uncle and aunt. My older sister developed a serious illness when I was 6, and my parents decided that they couldn't care for both of us, I guess. So they kind of unceremoniously dumped me at my grandparents, and my uncle took me in. Like, didn't even explain to me what was going on, just, you're gonna visit your gran for a while, and never pick me back up. My grandparents and uncle explained it later, and they're pretty livid at my parents. I've seen my parents maybe 5 times since then, and not at all for the last 9 years. I decided to stop having contact with them when I was 12, and since I was the only one reaching out, all communication broke down. It turned out okay, I love my aunt and uncle, and it turns out they can't have kids, so they always say I'm their miracle kid. I was just misrouted by the stork at first. I was formally adopted by them when I turned 18. I wish it had been earlier, but there were some red tape things that would have made that really expensive and difficult. I'm 21 now. My sister passed away between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I made a trip back from school for the funeral. But I stayed in the back and left before my bio parents could talk to me. They called my uncle to try to talk to me, but I said I didn't want to, so I told them that I wasn't available at the moment. They finally caught up to me over Christmas when I went to the midnight mass with my gran and approached me and tried to give me a hug. I did recognize them, but I pretended not to and just backed off and said, "Sorry, do I know you?" They said, "We're your parents." And I said, "My parents are at home," and went and sat down with my gran. I sat behind us and I could just feel the stare on the way out, and they were like, "You really don't recognize us?" And I said, "Oh, are you my dad's brother? I think I remember you from when I was little." My gran thinks they deserved it, trying to come back to me like nothing happened. But they wrote me a long letter about how hurt they are and how I should understand that they are trying to do the right thing and how they'll always be my parents and I can't change that. Other family members think I was too harsh as they're grieving, but I don't think they should get a pass just because they remembered me now that my sister is gone. Top comments. Not the a-hole. "Are you my dad's brother?" was pure class. And it's technically correct with the adoption. OP dropped their crown if they're having to ask. The part I really want to know is, this is a church service. How many of the kindly church ladies couldn't help but overhear? I'm personally hoping all of them. Oh, they'll all know soon enough. They gossip. A lot. OP's grandma is going to make sure it gets spread. She sounds like she is there for it. OP handled that very difficult and emotionally taxing situation incredibly well, while simultaneously sticking it to their ex-parents. I understand that caring for an ill child is extremely difficult. However, OP's parents didn't reach out for assistance from the aunt and uncle. They simply abandoned OP and left the child on the aunt and uncle's doorstep. OP's biological parents' response to OP's rejection said everything about how they view OP, as an object that belongs to them that they can get rid of or take back at a moment's notice. OP does not owe their parents their affection because they suddenly remembered they have another child. Am I the a-hole for moving out after my parents told me to pay rent? This story happened almost a year back, and when I told my parents about this, they said I should post it here because they were split 50-50. So I, 19 male, moved out of my parents' house about a year ago. There was nothing wrong in my life. I had a good upbringing, and I loved being home. I had a lot of friends, and my parents were loving. Or so I thought. Anyways, I was going to have a big 18th birthday, as it is the legal age where I stay, Australia. It means you can go from boy to man, child to adult. I had a venue rented out, and I had family and friends coming from all over to celebrate with me. We had a blast that night. I had my first drink, and almost made it to my last. I don't remember anything from that night, but from the photos I seen, it looked like I had a good night, so I was happy. A few days after that night, my parents sat me down to have a talk. They told me that I'm a man now, and that I've been working a lot of hours, and yet they haven't received anything. They told me that as soon as I started working, they expected me to help pay rent. Obviously, I didn't know any of that because I didn't get told. They told me that I should have known better, but now that I'm 18, they expect me to help with rent. Honestly, I didn't mind helping them if they asked. I was 16 when I got my first job at McDonald's, and I'm now working in construction. They made it seem like I was in the wrong for not giving them money. And I get where they're coming from, but from a young boy's perspective, all I saw was green. All I saw was a triple-digit paycheck that I wanted to spend straight away. Anyways, I told them I'd start helping them from now on, but it wasn't good enough for them. They told me that I had to pay them back all the money that I should have given them when I first started working, which was almost $10,000. I said no flat out, and they got mad. They told me that either I pay rent and pay them back what they are owed, or I move out and find my own place. So that's what I did. I moved out a few days after to my friend's house for a bit until I found my own apartment and have been living there for about 8 to 10 months. As soon as I moved out, I got bombarded with calls and texts saying that I disrespected by not paying them what they owe and making it harder for them to live now that they don't have someone washing or doing their laundry, taking out their rubbish and all those little stuff. They're both in their early 40s and are more than capable of doing it. My friends asked me why I never introduced them to my parents and told them what I've told you. Some of them already hated my parents, and some of them said it was my duty as their son. I honestly didn't know I had to give them money or help out. I would have if they asked, but I feel like they just disrespected and tried to gaslight me into giving them money. I just need to know if I'm the a-hole or not. Edit. A lot of people have asked me what my cultural background is, and if it has something to do with my situation. My mother is from Chile, and my dad is Samoa. As I know, both cultures do expect help, but mostly in the form of chores and keeping the house clean. It isn't until you're 18 and still living there that you are expected to pay rent. I do have siblings, and they had jobs before they were 18 too. They were never made to pay rent before they were 18, nor did my parents ask for backdated rent. Just wanted to clear up the air for some frequently asked questions. Edit 2. As some of you pointed out, it is to my better judgment that I should have helped out without having to be told. I'll take that as a fault of mine. But what I won't accept and can now clearly see that backdating rent to a minor, which is already bad in itself, will never be acceptable, and I stand firm on my decision of not paying and moving out. I do, however, have a family dinner in a few days with my parents and siblings, so if anyone wants an update after that, then I'll be happy to make one. Thank you for all the help and support. It makes me happy knowing that I made the right choice and to have unbiased opinions on this matter. Top comments. Not the a-hole. I was about to say you're the a-hole until they told me that I had to pay them back all the money I should have given them when I first started working, which is almost $10,000. You mentioned this. This is absolutely insane, especially since they only told you about helping with rent after you turned 18. They shouldn't start charging you as soon as you get a job at 16. It is typical to ask to help with rent after the child turns 18. It isn't typical to start charging your child for rent at the age of 16 the moment they get a job and say nothing for 2 years. You owe your parents nothing, OP. It makes me wonder if the parents were $10,000 in debt or something, and instead of paying it themselves, tried to guilt OP into inadvertently paying it for them. It has to be that, because this is actually a first for me. I've never seen or heard of parents putting their kid or kids in debt starting from them getting their first on-the-books job. I had a friend whose parents gave him a bill when he graduated high school for costs incurred raising him. Since it was quite a lot, he was pretty overwhelmed. My dad had to sit him down and tell him, "This is not an enforceable debt. You are not legally obligated to pay a dime." He hasn't spoken to his father since. His dad always came across as strict, but no one expected that level of a-holeness. A girl I was friends with back in high school had the same. When we were like 16 or so, her dad brought a big file full of so many receipts and other paid bills, like doctor visits and phone, and told her she will have to pay it all back when she turns 18. He said he was doing her a favor by giving her 2 years to save. The dude had receipts for baby items, like bottles and toys. He even included how much he paid in child support as a debt she owed him. He started this basically when she was born. I feel for your friend. What an absolutely awful way for a parent to treat their kid. Edit. I'm getting asked the same question a lot, what my friend did in response, so I'm going to answer it here instead of replying to everyone. Her parents had been divorced for years, and she lived with her mom full-time. Rarely even spoke to her dad by then anyway, so she pretty much cut off contact. We lost contact a while after high school, so I'm not sure if they had any contact after that, but I know they didn't once he gave her that file with how much she owed him and the projection for the remaining 2 years. He only reached out to her like once after that, and I think it was to tell her that her 18th was coming up and to say he couldn't come to her graduation, but that it would probably be a good idea to add any money she got from the family or for graduation to what she would be giving him. I don't think she would have ever paid him or that she would speak to him again. She never really reached out to him when we were friends, and he rarely reached out to her. She deserved better. I could understand if the parents asked OP to begin paying rent after they turned 18. However, it makes no sense that OP's parents would begin charging them at 16 when they're still a minor and not tell them. To me, it sounds like OP's parents are struggling financially and need OP to help them pay off some of their debts, especially since OP said that this wasn't done to any of their older siblings. It would be one thing if the parents were honest with OP and told them that they needed a bit of financial assistance to maintain their home. But instead, OP's parents decided to guilt them into paying a large sum of money by claiming that OP is indebted to them. Trying to teach your child how to be responsible by charging a bit of rent when they're an adult is one thing. But putting them into debt the second they turn 18 is setting them up for failure. OP made the right decision by moving out. Am I the a-hole for moving out because my parents expect me to help take care of my little brothers? My 18 male parents decided to have their kids in sets. There's me and my sister, 16 female, and our younger brothers, 3, 6 months. They had me at 20, and I guess decided they wanted more. My older brother is a good kid, but him and the baby are a lot to handle, obviously. This is where my current issue comes into play. Our parents told my sister and I once my mom was pregnant with the youngest that they wanted us to help more with taking care of them. Fair enough, we both figured, but since then it's been a lot. Once we get back from school, we'd basically be babysitting our older brother until my parents got back from work or whatever else they were doing. Then we had no time for anything besides homework before bed. This was most weekdays, keep in mind. My entire senior year, my sister and I were basically free babysitters. We could never do anything because we always had to help with the kids. When the youngest was born, it got even worse. Mom was right back to work, and both our parents worked like 60 hours a week. So we would basically switch to childcare duty as soon as school was done until someone got home around dinner. My sister likes to joke that she's had the teen mom experience, and I'm done. I told our parents that I know taking care of my brother is a condition of living here, so I'm out. In a week, 2 friends and I are going to split a 1-bedroom dump. I work part-time, and that can be full-time. I'm taking trade classes that I can take loans out for. I can do it. The issue is everyone is pissed. My sister is pissed because she'll have to do more. My parents are pissed because my sister is pissed at them, and so on. Now I feel like I'm being selfish to do this. Top comments. I'm not the a-hole. Not your kids. I hate that parents put the younger children onto the older children because they can't afford childcare or don't want to take care of them. People should really stop having kids they're going to force on their older children. Not the a-hole. Everyone should be mad at the parents, not OP. Older siblings can help with the younger ones a bit, but it is your parents' job to raise all their kids. They need to get their affairs in order. I think it sucks that the parents can't see the obvious staring right at them, and that is their lack of parenting and planning is driving OP to move out. They have no right to be mad. Not the a-hole. Oh, they planned alright. They planned to parentify their 2 oldest children. They have no plan for childcare outside of them. Go for it, OP. You're being used and abused. Do you have any other family that can help? Not the a-hole. The parents aren't mad at OP for moving out. They're mad because the sister is mad. Growing up in a similar situation, I fully sympathize with OP. When you decide to have multiple children, you have to think about whether or not you will have the time to care for and spend time with all of them. It sounds like OP's parents just assumed that OP and their sister would step up to be second parents. But parentifying your children causes a lot of issues in the family. The youngest children grow up feeling closer to their older siblings than their parents, and the older siblings may grow to resent their younger siblings for taking away their freedom in childhood. I hope that before OP moves out, they can have an honest discussion with their parents about the effect that looking after the younger siblings all the time has had on them, and maybe convince them to not do the same to their sister. Though, this may be wishful thinking. Am I the a-hole for demanding that my parents uninvite my ex-wife and my ex-best friend from their garden party? I came to Reddit for an honest opinion on if I'm the a-hole. I, 32 male, have been divorced from my ex-wife Allie, 32 female, for 4 years. It was not a nice thing. She and my ex-best friend, Silas, 25 male, have been married for 3 years and have a 1-year-old baby. My parents and Ellie's parents were longtime family friends, and that didn't stop after our divorce. My parents are hosting their yearly garden party, which is just an excuse for them to catch up and gossip with the other seniors. I was visiting my parents when they told me that Silas and Ellie would be in town, and they were invited to the garden party. My parents can't wait to meet their baby. I told them no, they are not coming. My parents didn't budge and said they would not be rude enough to retract an invitation after Ellie and Silas agreed. I said no one wants their ex-wife at their parents' party. My parents said I could be polite for one day. They really want to meet the baby and catch up with them. I made an ultimatum that it was either me or them. I would not attend if they came. My parents called me an a-hole for making them choose, as Silas and Ellie hadn't asked, and potentially making Ellie's parents think badly of them. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. You're the a-hole. You cheated on your wife and everyone took her side. I do not care if it was just a kiss. You cheated, and from what you told us, she did not. You just think she did because she moved on fast and you were obviously projecting. You chose to date the daughter of a family friend and then chose to cheat on her. You cannot expect your family to then cut her out. They do not even know her through you. You know her through them. Welcome to the consequences of your own actions. Edit. Please read OP's comments before asking where I got this information. Adding in, he justified cheating on her because she was having medical problems and not paying enough attention to him. Not paying enough attention to him, meaning she wouldn't have sex with him. Probably because, she was sick. Whoa, where did the cheating part come from? It's not in the post. Here you go. Info. Did Ellie cheat on you with Silas? Or were you just upset that they dated after you divorced? It seems like you feel some sort of betrayal by Silas. Edited to add, that's a bit more than a little mistake. Everyone sucks here. Ellie had an emotional affair with Silas. She insists she didn't, and only thought of the relationship after we separated, which is BS since they moved quick. I think she was looking for a reason to divorce me because I made one little mistake and she threw me out of the house and poisoned my relationship with my parents. Silas was my best friend, and I never could think he would choose her over me. I defended him from her every time she would say I was too old and had too much to think about to hang out with Silas, but apparently she wasn't too old to get knocked up by him. What's the one little mistake? My wife and I had problems in our marriage. She was going to a medical issue, and she was very testy and impatient with me. Not to mention, she wasn't in the mood for anything. We were both pulling long hours at work. Silas doesn't need a job, so he would occasionally help me out and my wife with stuff. I worked so many hours for us, and honestly, work was a better environment for me. I was happier. I didn't feel criticized. My coworkers actually liked me. At a work party, it got a little out of hand, and I accidentally kissed a coworker. I realized what I was doing was a mistake, and I immediately pulled back. It was a half second of our lips touching at most. A coworker told my wife, and she immediately threw me out of the house with no warning and filed for separation. Silas moved in a few months later. They got married and popped out a miracle baby that my parents fawn over. So when you accuse Ellie of infidelity, it's really just you projecting. And what were her medical issues? Basically, you were saying she was sick and understandably irritable and not interested in sex. And being the loving husband you are, you started avoiding her, spending time with work friends, and eventually hooked up with one of them. And you feel like the aggrieved party? Shaking my head. Before reading the comments, I had a little bit of sympathy for OP. From the original post, it sounded a bit like OP's parents were choosing his ex-wife and friend over them. However, after reading through OP's replies, it is clear that they left some key details out intentionally to paint themselves as the victim of the situation. In reality, OP cheated on their wife when they were sick and because she would not sleep with them despite her poor health. OP's ex was also well acquainted with OP's parents before they got together. The fact that OP casually left those details out already makes them the a-hole. But on top of that, OP wants to make their parents choose between spending time with them and spending time with the ex-wife who was a longtime family friend and getting to meet her baby for the very first time. OP is a huge a-hole. Am I the a-hole for thinking it's inappropriate for my mom to date someone 2 years older than me? For some context, my 16 female mom, 38 female, had me when she was in her early 20s, so she's relatively young for someone who has a daughter the age that I am. My mom and dad divorced when I was 6, and she hasn't dated many men. The very few men that she has dated have all been extremely older than her, which both her and I thought was kind of weird, but we shrugged it off. As I got older, she began to tease me that she would date someone around my age, which made me extremely uncomfortable because, for one, I don't want to have to compete with my mom in the dating game, and secondly, I think that would be extremely inappropriate if she were dating someone that much younger than her. I expressed this to her and she said I was being insecure. Flash forward to about a week ago. My mom said that she went to a breakfast place and a 22-year-old guy asked her for her Instagram handle. I said to her, "You said no, right?" And she laughed and said she gave it to him, but she wasn't going to date him or anything. I thought that was fine. Then she proceeded to say, "But even if I did, it's not weird." Then we began to bicker about whether or not it was weird to date someone only 6 years older than me, which we both eventually ended up just shrugging off. I haven't really thought about it much since we talked about it. But earlier today, she texted me and said verbatim, "For your information, if I dated someone from your high school who was 18, that wouldn't be weird." I just lost it. Not only would I get relentlessly bullied, but it would make me extremely uncomfortable because my own boyfriend is only a year younger than that. Someone almost the exact same age of my boyfriend dating, having sex with, and being intimate with my mother is just not appropriate in my opinion. I want her to be happy in a relationship, but the idea of my mom having any relationship with someone my age makes me sick. I told her all of these things, and now my mom is mad at me saying that I am forbidding her from having a dating life and giving her a hard time. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Even if it is super weird, she is free to do as she pleases. I would ask her if she would be weirded out if you, after 18, were to go out with someone her age. I'm certain she would change her tune quickly. I told her just this at the very beginning of the argument, and she just said, "We are not equals." She completely disregarded the point of what I was saying. You're not the a-hole, OP. I'm 40, and my daughter is 23. The thought of dating someone her age is disgusting to me. Not that I would, because her father and I have been happily together for nearly 25 years. It's just wrong on so many levels. It sounds like your mom is going through a premature midlife crisis. Okay, that right there is a big red flag. It sounds like mom might want to try and steal any boyfriends OP might have. OP is not the a-hole, but mom sure is. Although I don't think it's a complete possibility she would be trying to steal a boyfriend of mine, I do believe she would try to compete with me for one. I don't truly believe she would ever actually be attracted to someone that close to my age, but I think she would flirt with them to get on my nerves. She said just a couple weeks back that I was scared she was going to steal my current boyfriend from me, which was something I had never vocalized to her or anyone else for that matter. I think she was really just trying to piss me off, and it worked. Watch the movie The Graduate, start playing Simone and Garfunkel's song Mrs. Robinson, and start calling her Mrs. Robinson. Not the a-hole. It is totally understandable that OP feels uncomfortable with the idea of their mother dating someone their own age. It is a boundary that should be respected. OP's concerns about potential bullying and the impact on their own relationships are completely valid. OP's mother dismissing their feelings as insecurity is unfair and shows that she lacks insight and social awareness. OP has the right to express their discomfort, and it's important for their mother to understand and respect their boundaries. OP's mom is, of course, free to date. However, I feel that she should reflect on why she chooses her partners and the impact that her choices could have in her life. Am I the a-hole for walking out of a date my mom set up? This happened a few days ago, and I'm still getting aggressive messages from friends and family. I don't know if I'm the a-hole or not, so I would love an outside perspective. I, non-binary 20, am both aromantic and asexual, basically meaning that I only feel platonic love towards another person. I've been out to my whole family since I was around 16, so this isn't anything new. But my mom, 50 female, has set up multiple dates for me to go on, saying that it's just a phase, and I need to get over it. She'll stop when I ask her to, but then she'll set up another date, rinse and repeat. Normally I grin and bear it until we leave, but this time I had had enough. My family and I all sat down at a nicest restaurant and chatted for about 30 minutes, when my mom drags me over to another table where someone is already sitting. She introduces us and goes back to the other table. At this point, I have a small idea of what is happening, and I'm pissed. Sam, fake name, started talking and seemed legitimately nice. I asked him if this was a date or not, and when he confirmed it, I apologized and explained that I didn't agree to the date and that I was, in fact, aromantic and asexual. He apologized back before I walked out and went home. A few hours later, my mom calls me and tears me a new one about me walking out of the restaurant and that I was immature for doing so. She then told friends and the other relatives about what happened. Some side with me, others don't. I need to know. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I've messaged my mom and told her that I'm going low contact with her until she can accept the fact I don't want a romantic relationship. I am also searching for Sam. Edit 2. Mom threw a fit, saying I can't do that to her. I'm her baby. She's only trying to look out for me. I've been talking to family members about this after an explanation of events. They agree to my point of view. Apparently, Mom had been saying that I went out swearing and shouting like a toddler, and I just collected my things and left. Edit 3. I found Sam. We're planning to meet up on the weekend for coffee and cake. I shall update you then. Edit 4. Okay, a lot has happened since the last update. I've spoken to most of my relatives about my mom's behavior, and they agree that she was completely out of line. Those that didn't have been cut off from the rest of the family. I've tried talking to Mom again, wanting to be civil, but she avoids the topic completely. Edit 5. I've met up with Sam, talked through what happened from both points of view, as well as getting to know each other. Turns out he's ace too, so that's amazing. He was understanding and sweet. We're gonna game together more and just chill as friends. I can't believe the response that this post got. I legit thought I was losing my mind when writing this, so thank you all for your kind words. Top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mom is way out of line and being incredibly disrespectful to you. She owes both you and Sam an apology. I'm thinking of trying to find Sam to apologize again and to see if he'd be up for being friends instead. He seemed awesome, not gonna lie. Just the fact that he accepted your situation with grace and did not make a scene makes him a winner. I hope you found a new friend. Me too. We've been talking and he seems awesome. Turns out he has the same interests I do in terms of hobbies and stuff. That's awesome. There's always a possibility of QPR, queer platonic relationship. I'm also Aero Ace, by the way, and you're absolutely not the a-hole. Thank you for spelling out the initialism. I would have been very confused as to what Queen's Park Rangers have to do with this. Not the a-hole. Opie's mother's behavior is disrespectful and dismissive of their identity. Opie has clearly communicated their boundaries, and she continues to ignore them. Walking out of the restaurant was a reasonable reaction to being put in an uncomfortable situation, and I'm glad Opie discussed the situation with Sam so they didn't feel rejected. It's important for Opie to prioritize their well-being and set boundaries with their mother. It's great that Opie found support from some family members, and that they've connected with someone who understands them. Opie should stay true to themselves and surround themselves with people who respect and accept them for who they are. Am I the a-hole for giving a cake to my date? I, male 29, is dating someone, male 26, for over a month now, and it was just a few days since his birthday. Since he is in law school, he really couldn't set up a date around his birthday, so we decided to meet up on a future date, and I suggested we spend it in a DIY baking cafe. You bake the cake you want to purchase. I thought it would be a fun date idea, since we could bond and I can even give him a cake for his birthday. So come the day we met, I let him choose a cake. I paid it myself, and we were even given some freebies to play at the crane machine. I have to tell what happened in detail, since it's important later. First off, we both measured and gathered the ingredients. When we both were able to get the stuff, I went to the stand mixer and started with the batter. while he sat down at our workplace. As for me, I also sat because the recipe said to mix for 8 minutes. After batter was ready, we put it in the molds. Here comes icing. I did the icing. But he wanted to do an ombre effect to the cake, so we also made a strawberry flavored icing. So now we have 2. I was kind of nervous at first because the attendants initially said that ingredients that were not part of the recipe will be an additional charge. Thankfully, he was not caught. And what the heck, it is his cake after all. The problem is, it is his first time, and he overwhipped his icing. When we were done, we had some downtime. We need to wait for the cakes to finish cooling. When they were done, and when it was time to assemble, he did his icing first. As expected, the icing was clumpy and was like butter and not sticking to the cake. He tried fixing it, and it seemed to get worse, so I said calmly, "Let me try fixing it." All of a sudden, he disappeared. I noticed him at a table, approached him, and told him, "Let's finish the cake." "Why don't you finish the cake? You're doing all the work." I was confused. "Hey, I'm sorry if you feel that way. You could have told me earlier if you feel that way. So why not you finish the icing and decorating? Don't talk to me." He stood up, left, and messaged me, and this is our convo. "I'm going home." "Why? It's your cake. This is yours. Bring it home then." "But this is yours." "Why? Did I make it?" At this point, I'm like, "Well, this is my gift to you." We did it together." "Well, you have tried baking. I haven't done baking. You did everything. You should have just bought a cake for me. My time is wasted for this, and should have just studied for law school." I was so shocked. I felt unappreciated and was close to tears. It was a gift after all. As I don't want to escalate things further, I just said sorry a bunch of times and begged for him to come back. He came back, but forced me to finish decorating the cake when I waited for him to come back so he can do it. After everything was done, I brought him to the train station with him not talking to me all throughout, and just took the cake without saying goodbye. Here I am, wondering, am I the a-hole in this situation? Update edit. Hi guys. Looking at the comments, here's some info that are missing that I originally did not put up there that are nuanced. I said everything in a calm manner. In my POV, we did everything equally, as he was the one as well to decide the flavor of the cake and design the cake. When I asked that we should go to the mixer, he doesn't follow immediately, which is my bad. I admit that I wasn't proactive in the date, but still does go to add some ingredients. I only started the mixer. That's why for me, I believe that we did things equally at the start. I also did not hover at him for his work. The icing situation, we used more icing than what was allowed, since he wanted to do the ombre. Thanks y'all, effect. So basically, I took over one color, and he made another color. My thoughts about being overwhipped was all in my head, and I never said it out loud. That's why I still felt like we did things equally. The comments also reminded me of a previous date that I got home from Korea. Went to a date literally from the airport, gave him a handwritten letter, gave him some stuff from Korea, but was kind of disappointed because there were no flowers in that lunch date, and only said this to me a day after. He said he wanted flowers. I said, "Sorry, because I just came from the airport. I'm not able to buy flowers." He said, "It's okay." But he mentioned via message a day after what he felt about the flowers, kind of ignoring my gifts and handwritten letter. I also live in an Asian country where tradition is still quite strong. Yes, we are a gay couple, but there is this tradition in my country that the guy steps up to do everything for the person he is trying to impress. In this case, I'm that. He was expecting that I should step up since I am courting him. Our previous dates consisted of just lunch or dinner, or me helping him study for law school. That's why I thought, why not do something different for a change? This date was planned mutually a week prior, and we both agreed to do this, as this was a novel thing in my city. So although I did know more about baking, it was also a new experience for me to bake in a public place with lots of other people, mostly couples too, around. Hope the added info helps. Top comments. Not the a-hole. And if this is how he handles his embarrassment at making a simple mistake, I'm not sure you're going to be able to build a healthy and happy relationship with this guy. Are we going to ignore the fact that OP took me on the date to make this cake, and then following what he said, literally did everything? Did the batter, did the icing, and then decided the icing his BF made was not good enough, so I'll just do it for him? I see a lack of self-awareness from OP. Why couldn't he help the boyfriend do the icing right? I feel like the purpose was to engage in an activity together, but OP would rather have the boyfriend sit and watch him bake a cake for him. That's hardly amusing. Edit. Y'all are forgetting OP gifted baking to someone who doesn't care about baking. I just have a feeling OP is a nice guy. Birthday guy is obviously the a-hole too for how he handled the situation. I understand what you're saying, but in that case, the boyfriend should have communicated much sooner instead of exploding. I think OP was just really excited to do something for his partner. He wanted it to be perfect and might not have realized he was doing it all alone. Throwing a fit because he didn't get to do his own cake is not the attitude of an adult. It's the attitude of a child under 10. At this age, boyfriend should be more capable of communicating when something is upsetting him before it escalates. Edit. Typo. I agree with you. I hate it when someone just fumes silently and then blows up without even giving the other person a chance. Not that it makes any of this acceptable, but we are in exam time for law schools. I never was in the Greek system, but nothing feels like hazing quite like law school exams. Did OP ask her boyfriend at any point if this was something he'd actually like to do? Because if you don't enjoy cooking/baking in the first place, it would be like getting to do your own laundry for your birthday celebration. All the more so when everything he did was criticized. All I know is, if my husband had taken me to bake my own cake for my birthday while I was still in law school, especially at exam time, I would have probably ended in tears. Not the a-hole. OP's date's reaction was on par with a 5-year-old. OP had good intentions and planned a thoughtful birthday date. It's unfortunate that OP's partner reacted with anger and ungratefulness. OP made an effort to include him in the baking process, and when he struggled with the icing, OP offered to help. Although OP's date may have been facing more stress than usual due to his law exams, it seems like he has a pattern of not appreciating OP's gestures, as mentioned in OP's update. It's important to be with someone who values and respects you. Am I the a-hole for telling my friends how my date's mother called him 5 times during our 2-hour date? I, 27 female, went on a date with Jack, 30 male, recently. It was our first and last date. I didn't know him really well, and we only know each other through friends. We were set up by one of them, and we talked a bit before deciding to go out. He seemed normal. We went to a cafe. Now, we had only gotten there. I just sat down when he got a call from his mom. No big deal. He took the call in front of me, so I had no other option to hear what he was talking about. He told his mom that we had arrived and it's all fine. I thought, that's fine. Maybe he was anxious or something, or his mom was wishing him luck. We got talking, and within a half hour his mom called again. He picked it up and gave her an update of everything we had talked about in the last 30 minutes. It weirded me out, but then she proceeded to call him 3 more times within 2 hours. And he would recap everything we had talked about right in front of me, and then go back to the conversation as if nothing had happened. I even commented about his mom's constant calling, and he said he's a mom's boy. It weirded me out, so I cut our date short and turned down his idea for dinner. When I reached home, I messaged him that I had a good time, but I couldn't see a future with him as our personalities were poles apart. He responded in, "Okay, best of luck." Obviously, the friend who had set us up asked about the date, and I told her about his mom calling him every half an hour. I also told my friends about the date. Now apparently, he asked out another girl and she turned him down. He found out that people knew about his situation. He sent me a text calling me some nice words and saying that it was private information and I shouldn't have told people about it. He also called me a racist, which doesn't make sense to me. We are both of Indian descent. I mean, it wasn't the constant calling that stuck out to me. It was the fact that he was literally recapping everything to her. This whole severe codependency situation didn't sit right with me at all. I do think I might be an a-hole because I told his private business to the world, but also maybe not. Edit. OMG. Guys, this blew up. Thanks for all the responses. Jack's been blocked from my phone as he sent me a few more of his nice messages. Top comments. Not the a-hole. He's publicly taking calls. How is that private information? But it's his mommy. Yeah, nah. He's that kind of guy that belongs on r/just no significant others, and people discuss when talking their horror dates. I completely agree. If the call was private, he would have answered privately. So glad it wasn't private and Opie could just leave. And he appeared to think being a mama's boy is normal. Strange he doesn't like people knowing now. Yeah, better that she knows now. Just think of the play-by-play to mommy during intimate moments. Not the a-hole. Opie had a valid reason for feeling uncomfortable with Jack's behavior during the date. His constant phone calls with his mother, and the fact that he would recap Opie's conversations in front of them, raised legitimate concerns about his boundaries and codependency. It's understandable that Opie shared their experience with their friends, as it was an unusual situation that affected their perception of the date. Jack's response of name-calling and blaming Opie for why he can't seem to get a date was inappropriate and uncalled for. Blocking him was a reasonable decision for Opie's own well-being. Am I the a-hole for downloading Tinder? Throwaway, because my wife has read it too. My 34 male wife, 24 female, have been together for 8 years. She has some self-esteem issues regarding her weight, her attractiveness, etc. She doesn't believe that I'm actually attracted to her, even though whenever she asks how she looks, I tell her she's beautiful. This background is important for later. About a year ago, I slipped up and started chatting and exchanging pictures with some women online, and my wife found out. I felt horrible, and she was completely broken up about it for a while, but she didn't leave me. Unfortunately, about a week and a half ago, she found out I was doing it again. I apologized and told her it didn't mean anything, and that I was just bad judgment, and it would never happen again. Once again, she forgave me, but told me that it was my last chance to make it right. This is where I'm wondering if I'm the a-hole. Today we were cuddling, watching videos together on my phone, when an ad for Tinder popped up. I remembered I had one from a few years ago, so I swiped up and installed it. She looked at me like I had 3 heads and asked what I was doing. I said I wanted to see if there was anyone that I grew up with and maybe reconnect with old friends. She got mad and stormed off. Now she's in the office and I hear cabinets slamming. I'm a grown man with a job and a car and I pay my bills. If I want to get Tinder for something completely platonic, I should be able to. Her low self-esteem shouldn't make my decisions for me. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edit. Okay. I wasn't expecting the major "you're the a-hole" almost immediately here. I deleted Tinder and plan on making amends with my wife, however she needs me to. Thank you all. Top comments. Anyone want to bring up the fact that he was 26 and she was 16 when they started dating? Aw man, I missed that the first time. Dude, shaking my head. Yeah, I'm not going there. You're the a-hole, at least 3 times in this single post. Tinder isn't for catching up with platonic friends, you jerk. What he is looking for is called Facebook, or classmates.com. I'm surprised he didn't just pull up Backpage and order himself an escort, platonically of course. My 34 male wife, 24 female, have been together for 8 years. Gross. You're the a-hole. Actually, you're a massive freaking a-hole. Tinder is for hooking up and finding romantic love. Your excuses are BS. You're BS, and I feel terrible for your wife. I know I'm supposed to be civil here, but if you can't see how you're consistently showing your wife that you're looking around for the next best thing, then you're gonna have a bad time for quite a while. You're 10 years older than her, and it's pretty clear you're dating young, so you don't have to deal with someone who can see through your BS. You're totally an a-hole. You're the a-hole. No one believes that you want platonic relationships from Tinder. The first slip up wouldn't have been okay with me, but then you did it again, and now you download Tinder without a blink? By the way, actions speak louder than words. Your wife has self-esteem issues and you tell her she's lovely, but then exchange photos with people. And the second time it happened, it was unfortunate because she found out, not because you were remorseful. You were such an a-hole. OP, you're the a-hole. Installing Tinder after betraying their wife's trust, not once but twice, was a thoughtless and disrespectful move. It shows a lack of consideration for her feelings and undermines the effort she made to forgive you. OP's claims of using Tinder for platonic reasons is questionable at best, given their previous behavior. It's important to prioritize rebuilding trust in the relationship, although it's clear that OP does not value their partner, which is likely at the center of her feelings of worthlessness and low self-esteem. And the fact that OP began dating their partner when she was still a minor is more than a red flag. It's criminal. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law off for expecting me to ditch my family for every single holiday? My mother-in-law is quite possessive and controlling. She doesn't like me because I've taken her son away from her and all that, but she's never been honest either, to me or my husband, about how her dislike towards me. She'll only throw some masked insults to my husband about me, but to my face she is acting like an angel and says how much she adores me and views me as her own daughter, etc. Behind my back, both her and my sister-in-law say the most horrible stuff. There's many horrible things she's done, but on this post, I'll focus on how she acts regarding us towards the balance time between families. Since the first years of my husband and I being together, mother-in-law always had the expectation that her and her family should be prioritized more than my family. In some cases, she spoke as if I had no family, when my family is well, and I have a great relationship with them. She always had demands that we spend every single holiday with them, and whenever we balanced things out between them and my family, she threw tantrums and constantly cried to my husband about how he abandons his dear mommy for his new family. At first, my husband felt bad for her. Then he understood her theatrics, and anytime she throws a tantrum, he's telling her, like it or not, that's what's gonna happen. Go cry now and deal with it. We still try to be fair and balance holidays. Another example is how she demanded that during our wedding, I should get dressed at her own house because I'm like her daughter and she deserved to see me getting ready more than my own parents did. When I chose to get ready to my parents' house, mother-in-law was mad and said I disrespected her and that I don't consider her family because I did that. So this year, my husband and I made the plan. Thanksgiving lunch with his family, Thanksgiving dinner with mine, Xmas with his family, and New Year's with mine. Guess what? Mother-in-law didn't like that. After we were about to leave Thanksgiving lunch with her, she started making comments again about how we're picking my family over her, and how she'll spend New Year's without us now too because we prefer my family more. Totally ignoring the fact that we'll spend Christmas with her. My husband even tried to accommodate her once and asked her if she'd prefer for us to spend Christmas or New Year's with her, and I told him no. She won't dictate our schedule. Enough. After she made that comment, my husband ignored her and was like, yeah, okay, you'll start crying again. And she started yelling at my husband about how he's picking me over her and my family over her. She started throwing insults about my family, and I couldn't hold myself but to talk back to her and tell her off for being a selfish person who expects the world to revolve around her, and that she needs a wake-up call that she's not the only person in our lives. My husband told me to get in the car and go. On the ride home, he said that while I was right, I shouldn't have gotten involved, and I should be the bigger person instead of acting like an a-hole like her. Top comments. Not the a-hole. Your husband is not in an easy place. He understandably cares about pleasing his mom, but ultimately you're in the right, and it's fine for you to get involved, because it clearly concerns you. The main reason I got involved this time is because of straight insults she said about my family. Other times she's an angel in front of me and says horrible stuff behind my back, or when she thinks I can't hear her. But now this was the time she straight up said very nasty stuff about my family. Yep, that kind of direct confrontation is a fine reason for you to get involved. Why are you expected to be the bigger person when she's clearly older than you are? Shouldn't she be being the bigger person here? Opie's husband doesn't have the balls to properly tell his mom off, but is willing to do it to his wife. The OP here is not the a-hole. It's not fair that the mother-in-law expects to be the only priority in the couple's life and throws tantrums when they try to balance time between families. It seems like she's trying to control and manipulate the situation to get her way. It's also frustrating that she doesn't communicate her true feelings, and instead makes it with fake compliments to the wife's face. OP was understandably fed up with the constant demands and insults, and their husband should have supported them after the fact, instead of chastising them for not putting up with his mother's abuse. Ultimately, it's important for the couple to set boundaries and not let the mother-in-law control their lives. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law that I can wear whatever I wish to in my own yard? I, 20 female, and my husband, 22 male, have been together off and on for about 4 years. And me and my mother-in-law haven't ever really had issues up until this point. Well, to sum up the whole thing, me and my husband just moved into a new home that's right next door to my in-laws. We thought it'd be convenient, since me and my husband have a 1-year-old daughter, that it'd be easier for her grandparents to be right next door, and so we could see each other frequently. A couple of days ago, my father-in-law came home from work, and I so happened to be outside playing with my daughter. Mind you, it's like 90 degrees outside, so I had on a thin t-shirt with holes in the back that I had made myself, and a pair of shorts that were, I will admit, short, but not that short. I waved and he didn't even look in my direction. We had plans to go in my in-laws for dinner that night, and of course I changed and didn't think about the situation afterwards. Well, fast forward to a couple hours later. As soon as we sit at the table, my mother-in-law starts bashing me for what I was wearing. She wanted to tell me that I should feel embarrassed and ashamed for what I had done when her husband got home. I then went on to tell her that it was my yard and I have a right to wear what I want or what I'm comfortable in without feeling ashamed for it, and that I will continue to do it whether she liked it or not. I then got up and took my daughter home with me. When my husband got home, he proceeded to tell me that I took things too far, and she's a very conservative woman, and he feels I could use the advice she gave me. I feel bad, but I'm also going to stand my ground. Am I the a-hole? I should have added to this hours ago, but I'm making this a PSA. My in-laws do not babysit my daughter, ever. Mainly because we all work. On top of that, it's not a reason that we ever decided to move in next door. Me and my husband were living 2 states away up until about 4 months ago. My family has nothing to do with me considering I cut them off because they are all incredibly abusive and toxic. Me and my husband are both an only child, and we wanted our daughter to have family in her life outside of just us. It was a mutual decision we all made to move in next door when the house was put up for sale. I have gotten more slander in my comments about how young me and my husband both are to be married with a child, but I can assure you she is well taken care of. Meanwhile, over 90% of the people in my comments fail to realize that their grandparents are married and having babies at 14, 15 years old. I posted this to get advice, not to be criticized about my age and my capabilities to parent. Thank you to everyone who actually set that aside and gave me good advice on the situation. But please consider other aspects on a situation before you comment something like babies having babies. My daughter is very much loved and well taken care of. Top comments. Married with a child at 20. Moved in next door to in-laws? This is a big bag of yikes. Stealing this line for future use. Together off and on for 4 years? I think it's time to go off again if your husband accepts his mom and dad slut-shaming you, not the a-hole. Dude, honestly, I used to think it was so normal, but recently I'm realizing I'm 19. I still feel like a child. There's no way in hell I'd consider marriage and a kid in a year. I don't understand how these people do it. Religion and familiar pressure are a hell of a drug, kid. No, you are not the a-hole. You have the right to wear what you want in your own yard. It's not your mother-in-law's place to tell you what to wear or shame you for it. It's important to stand your ground and assert your autonomy, even if it's uncomfortable. It's also concerning that your husband is prioritizing his mother's opinions over yours. You should have a conversation with him about your autonomy and boundaries in your home. And I think OP was right for calling out all the comments about her age. The main message of this post is, what she does with her life is no one else's concern. Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law out for excluding only me on the family girls trip? So I get along with my mother-in-law most of the time, but sometimes me and her clash. The only relevant time we've had issues was a few years ago when we were on a family vacation and we got into a massive fight. The long and short of it was, I ended up missing an important family dinner at the restaurant my mother-in-law and father-in-law met at. Usually when I'm on vacation, I don't like to schedule stuff out and just explore and have fun. So I got distracted and missed dinner. Last week I learned that my mother-in-law and all my sisters-in-law are going on a trip to California this summer. Apparently they planned this since last year, and I was specifically left out of all the planning. My sister-in-law said that the reason my mother-in-law chose not to invite me was because of the fight we had about that dinner years ago. I'm the kind of person who likes to deal with things head-on. No petty BS. So I called my mother-in-law up last night. She at first said it was not personal, that she wanted to plan a bunch of activities over the week in Cali and knew I was not the one for long planned itineraries. I said that wasn't true because I could come and still hang out with them at the beach and hotel while they're going to the planned stuff I chose. She then said she was not going to pay for a flight and hotel for me just to choose to stand up to everyone. Things got heated really quickly, and she ended up telling me that she swore to herself never to pay for another of my trips after ruining her anniversary trip like I did just because I'm selfish and can't bother to do things other people want to do. This was complete bull, and I called her out on it. We ended up fighting and I hung up. I texted all my sister-in-laws telling them I'm completely disgusted they all would leave me out of this just because mother-in-law has a petty grudge against me and cannot stop being a control freak for 5 seconds. Today I woke up to text after text telling me to grow up and that she was not the only one who didn't want me there. My husband supports me 100%, but apparently he got chewed out by mother-in-law today and he said now he's staying out of it. So now I'm starting to wonder if calling her out like this was too far and that I should have been the bigger person. I don't know though. Top comments. I said that wasn't true because I could come and still hang out with them at the beach and hotel while they're going to the planned stuff I chose. She then said she was not going to pay for a flight and hotel for me to just choose to stand up to everyone. So she's paying for the trip so that everyone can spend time together and do activities together. And your position is that you'll pick and choose the activities that you're interested in. You're the a-hole. She doesn't owe you a free trip. Don't forget the fact that the previous trip was to celebrate the in-laws' anniversary, and she couldn't even bother to show up to dinner. OP isn't that special. No one is going to give her a full paid vacation so she can go do what she wants in her dime. But wait, she got distracted and missed dinner. More like she didn't want to attend the anniversary dinner after her in-laws funded the trip. This 100%. And now she wonders why they don't want her. If you're doing a girls' weekend, it's custom for everyone to all the activities and not decide to grace everyone with their presence. It sounds like attending the anniversary dinner was very important to the mother-in-law, and the OP missing it put a strain on their relationship. Although OP is an independent person that seems to like to explore while on vacation, OP's mother-in-law seems to view vacations as family time. If OP was paying for their own trip expenses out of pocket, there wouldn't be as much of an issue with OP going on their own and skipping group events. However, OP's mother-in-law is paying for their share of the trip, so I think that OP would either have to stick to the pre-planned agenda or opt out of attending. Am I the a-hole for confronting my mother-in-law about going behind my back with the kids? I've been with my husband for a total of over 15 years now, married for 2. I moved into his family's house with him when we were both 16 and developed a close relationship with his mom, so close to the point that I even call her mom. My husband has an older sister and a younger brother. His younger brother is married, but me and his wife never got along. We've had a lot of issues in the past, years ago, and it got really bad, to the point where my husband and I moved out of his parents' house and cut off contact with everyone. Fast forward to the present time. His brother's wife has tried to make amends with me multiple times over the years, since it's been years and we both have kids now, like buying me and my husband and our kids gifts for Christmas, reaching out via my mother-in-law, etc. But I wasn't having any of it and refused to have any contact with her or allow my kids to have any contact with her kids. She has 3. My mother-in-law hates that we don't get along, and that every holiday she has to have 2 celebrations since she can't have everyone together. She tried to stay neutral and not take sides, but it's obvious that she just wants her family to be together again. My 5 female and 1 female daughters stay with my mother-in-law Monday through Friday while my husband and I work. They're at my mother-in-law's house more than they're at ours. A few days ago, my eldest daughter was talking to me about her week with Grandma. She said her and her sister met some new friends this week and started giving me the names of her 3 cousins, the ones we don't speak to. Apparently my mother-in-law went to visit my brother-in-law and his wife / their kids and took my kids with them since they're with her all the time. Mother-in-law never mentioned this to me at all, and I presume wasn't planning on telling me. So I confronted my mother-in-law and asked why she did this and didn't tell me. She explained that it's been over 10 years and she is sick of keeping her grandkids away from each other and having this divide in the family. She said the fact her sons don't speak has been killing her for years. She doesn't think it's fair that my kids and my brother-in-law's kids have never met due to some stupid drama that happened years ago. I told her I don't want my kids having anything to do with my brother-in-law, his wife, or their kids, and that she needs to respect this, or I'll find somewhere else to leave my kids during the week. She was obviously upset about this. I was talking to my sister-in-law, husband's older sister, and my niece about this. And to my surprise, they think that this is kind of an a-hole move on my part. They said that they don't think it's fair that my kids won't get to ever build a relationship with their cousins due to some drama that happened over 10 years ago. They also said my mother-in-law is doing my husband and I a favor by watching our kids Monday through Friday without getting paid a cent, and that I shouldn't give her such a hard time. Was this an a-hole move on my part? Edit. I couldn't fit an explanation due to the word count, but the drama that occurred between my sister-in-law and I was that she used to constantly talk bad about me and make comments behind my back. One day I overheard her talking bad about me to my mother-in-law, and I confronted her. She tried to deny what she said and played that victim. Ever since then, I cut ties with her and my brother-in-law and want nothing to do with them. My mother-in-law has always tried to stay neutral. Top comments. You're the a-hole. You expect to control your mother-in-law's activities 5 of 7 days a week while she raises your kids? You need to accept that when you have someone else doing that much parenting on your behalf, you want a proof of everything that happens. If you expect that she never see her other grandchildren on any of the 250 days a year she raises your kids, you're out of your mind. Do find other arrangements, because I seriously doubt it will work out for you. That is what I thought. This woman is an entitled ingrate. Also, what do the kids have to do with anything? Very odd. Immature behavior. She owes her mother-in-law big time. Right? Boo-hoo, my mother-in-law remained neutral while another teenager talked bad about me a decade ago and sometimes even defended me. Now she raises my kids. Can I punish her for letting my kids see cousins? Should I find someone else to raise my kids 5 days a week? Narrator. No one else was offering to raise these kids. OP had a rich fantasy life that involved people coming out of the woodwork to have physical custody of her kids while having no autonomy in raising them. OP seems to have taken this way too far for far too long. That type of animosity takes energy to maintain all those years. And this is all over negative talking? What was said has to have been pretty awful and something you've never done yourself for this type of reaction. By the way, OP, you're the a-hole. Yes, not allowing your kids to have a relationship with their cousin because of a disagreement that happened over 10 years ago is an a-hole move. Your mother-in-law is doing you a favor by watching your kids without getting paid, and it's not fair to add additional stress by making her keep your kids from their cousins. It's time to move on and let the past go for the sake of your kids and their relationships with their family. However, it's important to set boundaries and communicate with your mother-in-law about future visits before they happen to ensure both parties are comfortable with the situation. Am I the a-hole for not letting my mother-in-law into our house? So it is safe to say my mother-in-law and I, 31 female, don't get along at all. I grew up in a very broken family with issues, but I love them nonetheless. I also am on the spectrum. This is relevant for later. I have lived my entire life around the capital city of my country, very busy and loads of different people and cultures there, which I loved. I met my significant other 5 years ago. I just finished uni and lived with my dad. I wanted to move out, but didn't have the funds at the time. I fell in love with my significant other, who lived in a small town 2 hours from my home. After uni, I got a pretty good job very quickly. When I met my mother-in-law, there was already tension. She just did not like me at all. To some extent, I understand, because I find it hard to connect or express myself well. so at first I thought it was that. She hated my hair, black dyed with the pink strand, my tattoos. Again, I thought it's an opinion, and even though hurtful, she has the right to disagree with me. My mother-in-law stated that her entire family has always lived nearby, and that unlike my family, she'd do anything to protect hers and keep everyone close. That felt like an attack on my family, especially my grandparents who raised me when my parents couldn't and were like angels in my eyes. We mentioned that when we saved up, we wanted to live together and buy a house. My significant other had a house of his own, but it just wasn't future-proof. My mother-in-law immediately jumped on me, basically telling me that I was after my significant other's financials, and I was taking him away from her. I asked her why it was such a problem for my significant other to potentially move away a bit, but that I had to drop my family and that was okay. At the time, both my grandparents were still alive. I was ignored. We have ended up buying a house in the beginning of this year, and we love it. It is 15 minutes from my mother-in-law, still almost 2 hours from my family, but I also build a life here. My mother-in-law only congratulated my significant other with his house. My significant other told her it was our house and I own half of it. She refused to acknowledge that. One day she came by our house uninvited and unannounced, so I was home alone and about to leave for a friend. She demanded she wanted in because she wanted to see if her baby was living in a clean home and was fed well. I told her to leave a few times and closed the door on her. She kept screaming at the door and ended up starting an entire family feud. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Her baby is my significant other, who is in his 30s. Not my child. I have none. Edit. Me being on the spectrum is not a carte blanche for potential group behavior. However, my mother-in-law has no understanding for me as a person and sees of me as something broken. Also, I am fully aware being on the spectrum is not a carte blanche. That's why I doubted so much if it was just me. Edit. Mother-in-law refers to people on the spectrum as my kind, as if we are aliens. Top comments. Not the a-hole. If she has a key, you may want to change the locks. You deserve to feel safe and respected in your home. Your partner will need to be consistent and supportive in these boundaries. The good news is, if your partner does step up, everything may improve for the better. I didn't get on great with my in-laws at first, but everything turned around when my husband told them they had to treat me with respect. Yes, change the keys and get a security camera. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She sounds so disrespectful. I think in your own house you are entitled to not want someone who clearly dislikes you in your house when you are not there. I wouldn't trust her one bit in there alone if it were me. And it sounds like she is looking to find evidence to make you look bad. In fact, the whole thing may have been a manipulative ploy to make herself the victim of your cruelty, so you'd look bad in front of everyone. Who knows? Based on her comments, she definitely seems toxic. Your significant other may feel differently about who can be in the house when you aren't there though, so it might be worth discussing to get on the same page about it. But in the initial reaction, totally not the a-hole. Edit. The more I think about it, the more I am annoyed by she wanted to see if her baby was living in a clean home and was fed well, as if it is your job to clean the place and feed your significant other, instead of a grown adult doing those things for himself, that you would do those things together. She appears to see you as her servant-in-law at most. I think mother-in-law can't accept that her baby is grown and still see him as a child. That's why she calls him a baby and has to check on his living situation. Because OP is his babysitter, and mother-in-law has to make sure babysitter is doing her job. She has no respect for OP, just sees her as a servant. Too bad they already bought a house so close to mother-in-law, because moving far away would be the best way to stop this behavior. Mother-in-law may have this mindset with all of her family, the protect them and keep them close attitude OP mentioned. It's children, young children really, that need that. Adults, generally, don't need a parent protecting them. They need support. They generally don't need to be kept close either, and a part of the teen years should be allowing them to step out on their own. First for shorter periods of time, then longer, so that when they hit college age, they can potentially move out on their own, or go to a school halfway across the country, or the world. Once she came into our house, We were both home and busy with some great remodeling projects, so we had some dust flying about. She rubbed her fingers on the windowsill and commented about the dirt that I had to clean more often. Honey, this lady is an a-hole. You're free to regard any opinion that spews from her lips as irrelevant and ignore her. She doesn't like you and behaves like an absolute toddler whenever told no. She is not kind, she is not helpful. You are not the a-hole. Don't feel bad about not letting her in. Being a good person doesn't mean being a doormat or letting people treat you badly. OP, you are not the a-hole. It sounds like your mother-in-law is being incredibly disrespectful and invasive of your personal life. Your family's background and your place on the spectrum should have no bearing on her treatment of you, and her actions are not acceptable. It's important to set boundaries for yourself and your home, and to have open and honest communication with your significant other about how you both want to handle your relationship with your mother-in-law moving forward. Am I the a-hole for cheating on my wife? Throw away, because my wife browses Reddit, and she'll know this is about her straight away. Sorry for any formatting errors. I'm on mobile. TLDR at the end, etc. First of all, I know I'm not perfect, but please hear me out. I don't know where to start, so I'll just get the elephant in the room out of the way. I've, 29 male, been cheating on my wife, 31 female, for a little over a year now, with another woman, 20 female, that I think I love. My wife and I met in college, UK. I think that's high school in America, and dated for about 2 years before I proposed. Things were smooth for almost a year before my wife seemed to change. She was constantly rude, nagging at me for anything, making belittling comments. I began to spend more time at work to avoid her constant negativity. She was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder and bipolar disorder. Still, I was sure we'd work through it, so I stayed with her. I believed I still loved her. 2 years after her diagnosis, my dad died in a car crash. While I was distraught, I couldn't help but notice that my wife seemed almost glad. She'd never mentioned an issue with my parents, but anytime I seemed sad about it, she'd say something like, "It's for the best," or "You should get over it soon." My brother took this loss harder than I did and turned to alcohol. As a favor, I took him in when his landlord turned him out. I work a lot. My wife owns her own business and often works from home. I wrongly assumed that I could leave the two of them together. But while I was away, they would have sex. I found this out from a neighbor who walked in on them when asking for a parcel. I also later found out he had been stealing from us as well. As any sane person would, I kicked him out of my home. I tried to file for a divorce, but my wife went through an awful depressive episode lasting almost a month. I dropped the ideas about a divorce. For a while, things seemed to go back to how they were when I was 20. Things were going great at work, and I was climbing the ranks. We just moved into a new house closer to my work. My wife had begun branching out and now owned 2 or 3 shops in the city. She was on a new medication that made her a much more pleasant person. Her sex life was great. And then we found out she was having a baby. I was ecstatic. I love kids. My wife and I had always wanted a kid, but every time we tried it hadn't worked. Soon enough, our son was born. Over the course of his first couple of months, I began to have doubts that he was really my son. I put this off as first kid worries or whatever, and continued my life. Until one evening, my wife sat me down and told me the kid was my brother's. Her reasons were that she knew I'd always wanted a kid, and that our DNA was too close for it to make a difference. Never mind the fact that meant she was sleeping with my brother again. Again, I distanced myself. I tried to file for a divorce again, but my wife returned to her depressive state, so once again I dropped it. One night after an argument, I left the house with no intention of going anywhere and ended up in a bar. I got talking to a girl, and we had a one-night stand. I couldn't help but think of my wife the whole time. And yet, a week later, I slept with her again. She told me things about herself. She was living with her cousin, she worked 2 jobs to put herself through uni. She felt like she was alone in the world. Our one-night stand became a whole relationship, and I realized that I was cheating on my wife. It became a lot easier when I made her my secretary. I don't want to explain many details about our relationship. She was by no means at fault. I didn't tell her I had a wife until a month or so before I gave her the job. I didn't tell her about my son until our first argument. I was spending a lot more time at work, and my wife began getting suspicious. She stopped taking her meds, telling me they clouded her thoughts, and refused to speak to her psychiatrist. Still, she doesn't know about the other woman. Really, I know I'm at fault for a lot of this. The tragic backstory or whatever doesn't let me off. But I really do think I'm in love with the woman I'm cheating with, and I don't know what to do. TLDR, my wife, who suffers from multiple mental illnesses, has put me through numerous hardships, and now I'm cheating on her. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Guy writes 15 paragraphs to justify cheating. You're the a-hole for cheating instead of just leaving. I feel like this is a validation post, and everyone sucks here. If you're unhappy, then leave. Everyone sucks here. If she's cheating, it doesn't give you a free pass, unless you've converted to an open relationship, which you obviously haven't. Everyone sucks here. Dude, just leave. Get a divorce lawyer, get divorced, and get therapy. Holy Jesus. You're the a-hole for how you've treated this new young woman, withholding your life circumstances until she was firmly entangled, and now she even has to please you to remain employed. But she definitely deserves better than you. Your wife and brother are a-holes in this too, so really, almost everyone sucks here. But I really wanted to make sure somebody addressed the actual victim in this, and it's not you. Our one-night stand became a whole relationship, and I realized I was cheating on my wife. Like just screwing around wasn't cheating. There's no score where you're not an a-hole until you've hurt the other person more. Obviously everyone sucks here, but right now, you're the a-hole. OP, you're the a-hole. Cheating on your wife is never justified, regardless of the circumstances or the problems in your relationship. It's clear that there are significant issues in OP's marriage, but cheating is not the solution. Instead of addressing those problems directly and seeking counseling or support, OP chose to betray their wife's trust and engage in a relationship with another woman. OP not only created a power imbalance in the workplace for the woman they were cheating with, who may feel that she has to continue seeing them to keep their job, but OP made her the other woman without her knowledge by not telling her that they were already married. Two wrongs don't make a right, and OP's actions only compound the pain and damage in their marriage. If OP's truly unhappy, it's important to have an honest conversation with their partner and consider ending the relationship before pursuing another one. Am I the a-hole for siding with my friend after he cheated on his wife? Throwaway account for anonymity. My 27 male friend, 24 male, and his wife have been married for 3 years and have 2 small babies. Recently, another woman reached out to his wife to tell her that a few years back, while they were living in separate states, he was in the military. They slept together. This has caused a great deal of havoc to their marriage, and things have been super tense. However, the wife has been extremely toxic lately, and although I understand she is hurt, she's taking advantage of this situation to get her way on everything. Most recently, she basically guilt-tripped my friend into buying an expensive cat because, in her words, she deserves it. They already have 5 other cats and 2 small babies, and not a lot of economic resources to add another expensive cat into the mix. My buddy agreed as a way to keep the peace. He's trying to save his marriage, but at what cost? She's doing whatever she wants, leaving him the kids to go out late, making him do extra work around the house, even though he works a very physical job, and now the whole cat situation. I told my wife the situation and how I think she is being unreasonable, but my wife says that his wife is probably very hurt and isn't dealing well with all the emotions that come from finding out he cheated. As I said, I can empathize, but this is no excuse to treat my friend like dirt. There's a healthy and unhealthy way to deal with the situation, and she's choosing the unhealthy way to go about it, causing more damage. My wife is now mad at me. She said she will take the wife's side on everything and support her in whatever she needs. He's the one that messed up after all, and he needs to deal with the consequences of his actions. She said he should give her whatever she wants. But where do you even draw the line? When will he stop paying for a mistake from years ago? This has now created a rift between me and my wife, but I don't think I'm being the a-hole here for taking my friend's side. Look, I know what he did was awful, but two wrongs don't make a right, and she's just being spiteful and selfish, getting her way in everything she wants and guilting him into big decisions that will only hurt their family even more. Top comments. You're the a-hole. This is no excuse to treat my friend like dirt. My dude, it absolutely is. You're right that his wife is not reacting appropriately, since this marriage is clearly long dead. She should just divorce him, but your friend is the one responsible for killing it, and now he has to face the consequences of his own actions. I can understand helping him out if he needs a place to stay or something, but do not take his side. He is absolutely the one in the wrong. Plus, OP's wife is probably reading him taking his friend's side, as indicating that he's totally okay with the idea of cheating. You're the a-hole, by the way, OP. Exactly, because he clearly is okay with it. Otherwise, he wouldn't be asking questions like, how long does he have to pay for a mistake that happened years ago? Your wife is right, and hopefully she sees you for who you are now. You're the a-hole. Those comments always get me. Okay, the activity happened years ago, but wife just found out about it, so her hurt is recent and ongoing. And the husband never came clean. He would have lied to her forever. The only reason she found out was because the woman reached out. This isn't just about the cheating, though that alone is more than enough. It's also about the fact that the person who claims to love her, who she shares children with, is a wretched freaking liar who didn't even have the decency to tell her when he cheated on her. He spent years lying to her and would have continued for the rest of their lives if he could have. It's also sketchy to me that the other woman came clean now, supposedly years after the fact. Sounds more like they've had an ongoing thing and she finally ended it for one reason or another and decided to go scorched earth. While it's important for OP to support their friend, it's crucial to recognize he made a significant mistake by cheating on his wife. His wife is understandably hurt and dealing with a range of difficult emotions. It's not fair to dismiss her reactions as being toxic or spiteful. Instead of taking sides, it would be more helpful to encourage open communication and seek professional help, such as couples therapy, to navigate the challenges they are facing. Blaming the wife and disregarding her emotions will only further damage their relationship and exacerbate the rift between OP and their partner. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend's boyfriend she cheated? I really gotta know, because I'm getting a lot of stick for this right now from my friend group and my older sister. Fake names. Context. My group and I went out to eat 2 weeks ago, and after that we went clubbing. Anna, the cheater, disappeared from the group for about 15 minutes. We were concerned, but not that surprised, because she's known for disappearing to the dance floor when clubbing. At the same time, there's the never leave a girl alone rule, so we went on a proper manhunt for her when we found her with a group of boys and 2 girls on the second floor. I'm going to skip forward. A couple of my friends in this group of boys were hitting it off. Keep in mind, this group was very suggestive. They had been from the start, so me, Beth, and Kathy, girls from my group, were confused as to why Anna was with them in the first place. We all go to the same train station, and suddenly Anna and one boy walk off with no explanation. Like I look up and they're just rushing off without a word. Without too much explanation, we hear noises and giggles. She yelped at one point, and she answered our "Babe, are you okay?" text with, "Yeah, babe, back in a sec, having a cigarette," which means she was lying to us, yet we all knew. Needless to say, none of us were surprised. She's always been suggestive with other men while in a relationship. I don't want anyone thinking we left a drunk girl to be taken advantage of either. She drank the least out of all of us, as she's on a tolerance brink anyway. This has been a common misconception when I tell people. So back to the title. I told her boyfriend. I told him everything, the same way I told you guys, with no sugarcoating. While telling him, I felt genuinely scared and sick, because I know word would go around that I told him. But that's because we've been close for years, as well as collectively went to the same school. Since then, I've had nothing but backlash, including my sister, who told me I should have just minded my business. And everyone cheats, so why would I screw up my best friend like that? Beth and Kathy seemed to support me to my face, and backchat about me being a pick-me. I'm really conflicted now, because when I first told him, I thought I did the best thing I could, and it was better he found out. But now I'm wondering if it would have been better if I kept my mouth shut and let him live in ignorance. Anyways, opinions? Top comments. Not the a-hole. Any victim of cheating would love and prefer to be told right away. Not everyone cheats. Some unfortunately do. Doesn't make it any okay thing to do. Common sense, honestly. But some people still have adolescent mindsets. Gaslighting at its finest. I love your sister's line of everyone cheats. No, honey. Good people don't cheat on their significant others. Neither do people who believe in committed relationships. Personally, I think you may have violated the girl code about not snitching, but at the same time, I would want to know if my significant other was cheating. It's true you didn't literally see her kissing or in bed with someone else, but there was a strong implication that something was going on. Do I really think you're the a-hole? Not really, no. But maybe you should have talked to the cheater before going to our BF about what you saw and how you felt about it. I have to say, not the a-hole, because girls that believe cheating is okay honestly wreck good men for the rest of us. And the same goes the other way, honestly. Maybe next time, however, talk to your friend first before BF. Very good point. I do regret not fully talking to her about it beforehand. But honestly, stuff like this happens so often, I just got frustrated. That's my bad on my half, but I guess it's done now. Girl code, bro code, toxic BS. Do what's right, regardless of genitals or gender identity of the individuals involved. The situation was clearly infidelity, even if she wasn't sure if they actually screwed. The guy deserved to know, and the girl deserved to get caught. Not the a-hole. This girl isn't your friend. She's inconsiderate of you on a night out. She's cheating, doing something wrong. The girl that cheats on her boyfriend will still screw you over as well. I've made the mistake of thinking the friend who's a poor significant other is a good friend. They just haven't screwed you over yet. Yeah, honestly, she's been doing weird stuff for a while. She left me to sleep in a train station once because she made us miss the last train and went to sleep at a boy's house. If I didn't have money for an Uber, she genuinely would have left me to sleep there. Not the a-hole. Opie did the right thing by telling Anna's boyfriend about her cheating. Loyalty should not come at the cost of enabling dishonesty and betrayal. It's understandable that Opie felt scared and sick about the potential backlash, but it's important to prioritize honesty and integrity in relationships. Opie's sister and others who criticize them for telling the truth may have a different perspective, but it's crucial that they stick to what they believed was right. Cheating is not acceptable. It's better for the boyfriend to know the truth rather than living in ignorance. Good for OP for not letting the opinions of others compromise their values. Am I the a-hole for helping my son avoid his family after his wife cheated? I don't really feel great about throwing this on the internet, but everyone is too pissed to talk to me, so this is about what I've got. My son and his wife have been together for 6 years and have a little 4-year-old girl. They've had their problems every once in a while, but to me, it seemed like they always worked through it. I know he absolutely loves her, and I thought they were very close. But 3 days ago, my son came to my door at 10 at night, drunk, sick, and in complete tears. I guess she had been cheating on him for some time, and during an argument, she finally admitted it. He just fell apart. He could barely breathe right. I cleaned him up and put him in bed, and that's about where he's been since. He looks ill. He won't eat. I've never seen him so upset. His wife and her family were calling us both repeatedly, but we just didn't deal with it at first. He was devastated. I wanted him to have a moment to gather himself. This morning, I bit the bullet and answered her call. She was angry he had walked out and left her with their daughter, and said she just wanted to talk this out like adults. I told her that she could talk to him when he chose to contact her, and that I think he'd want to work something out, but she needed to give him some space. She got more upset, and I told her I wouldn't talk if she was going to throw a fit, so she hung up. I don't know what she told her family, but I've since gotten calls from her mother begging me not to let him leave her and their daughter. Her sister called to berate me for protecting a deadbeat father. They're all freaking out. He isn't abandoning his family. His life has been turned on its head, and I want him to save some time to find his feet. It's just been 3 days. It's not like he's run away. But now everyone is angry at me for letting my son leave his daughter, which he absolutely adores that little girl. He'd never just up and leave. So am I the a-hole for letting him stay with me to get away from his family? I know it leaves his wife in a tight spot, but it's been 3 days, and she hardly works part-time. It's not like he's left her with an impossible task. And I absolutely intended to have my son deal with this. But I just can't see him feel like this, that I don't think he could have any meaningful conversation this way. What should I do? I'm not trying to let him hide from his responsibilities, but he's hurting and needs time to breathe. Some additions and edits for clarity. Of course, we've discussed the possibility that his daughter might not be biologically his, but he doesn't plan to abandon her regardless. He loves his little girl, and would despite anything. And as far as if her family knows the full story, I have no clue. I haven't even tried talking with them yet. Top comments. Not the a-hole. He isn't opting out of being a father. He's taking the time he needs to process information. He does need to get his stuff together quick and go be a father again. He needs to divorce her, collect evidence, hire a lawyer, and get a DNA test done on his daughter. His wife has been cheating for some time. I would definitely double check. That's up to the dad. He doesn't have to do this. He could be fine not knowing this part. If he loves his daughter as is, and knowing would only change things for the negative. If he's able to put what he knows aside and not be plagued by the thought, what a saint. People have done this forever, before DNA tests existed. Sometimes not knowing is the better choice. It's not up to anyone else to decide but the dad, or the daughter, eventually. Not the a-hole. Opie is doing the right thing by supporting their son during this difficult time. It's understandable that he needs space and time to process the emotional shock caused by his wife's infidelity. It's important to prioritize their son's mental and emotional health before addressing the situation with his wife and daughter. Opie should encourage him to seek professional help to navigate through his feelings and make informed decisions about his future. While it's understandable that his wife's family is concerned, they should also respect your son's need for space and refrain from making assumptions or passing judgment. Ultimately, the decisions regarding their relationship and their daughter's well-being should be made by your son and his wife, or potential ex-wife, once they are both in a better state to communicate effectively. Opie should continue to be there for their son by offering support and guidance, and allowing him the time he needs to heal. Am I the a-hole? I want nothing to do with my BFF's cheating husband. My BFF, 28 female, and I, 28 female, have a friendship that goes back 20 years. Her and her husband started dating freshman year in college, and were married about a year and a half ago. We have our friendship, plus a long time of being couple friends. About 3 months ago, my BFF called me devastated. Her husband admitted to an affair. He leased an apartment and leaving their marriage. My BFF swore us to secrecy because of the shame of the affair. 2 nights after he left, he came crawling back. He was afraid he couldn't afford the apartment he leased. She took him back. They've been in couples therapy and individual therapy since. I voiced concern for her because I didn't trust his motivation for coming back. But I told her, and I've been telling her, that it's not my marriage, and they need to do what's best for them, and I hope they find healing in therapy. He also quit his job as per her request, to cut off contact with the other woman. So now she's the sole breadwinner, paying for their household and his impulse apartment. Her and I have been talking, and I try my best to stay neutral and supportive. She tells me about processing her anger, and I just say things like, I bet it's hard, and what you're feeling is normal. She'll tell me about the progress he's making, and I'll say things like, that's good, and she picks my responses apart, accusing me of being against him. I try to keep conversations focused on a variety of topics, and ask her about herself and her healing journey. She doesn't really have much interest in my life or what I'm going through in my own things. It's become exhausting for me to talk to her. They have a wedding coming up that they're both in. The wedding is taking place in the town I live in. She wanted to know if they could see us while we're in town. I told her I'm not ready to see her husband, and my husband is definitely not ready to see him. She was very upset at my response that I'm not ready to see her husband, and accused me of punishing her for staying with him. I said, I'm very impressed and respect the work she's doing and don't judge her at all. I'm just not ready to see him. The incident really ruined his character to me. I told her there are two separate people that I hold in separate esteem, and what I think of him is not a reflection of her. I've also told her many times I care about him as a person, and I hope he finds healing in this process too. I don't know when I'll be ready to see him, but it's just not now. She was upset with my response, and the conversation ended. Today, her husband messages me and asks to talk, and he doesn't want me punishing his wife for his mistakes. I didn't respond to him, but sent her a message letting her know that I wasn't happy my boundary of not wanting to talk to him wasn't respected. I want to be a supportive friend, but I'm at my wit's end. Am I the a-hole? Top comments. Not the a-hole. If he doesn't want his wife punished, then he can take a dip while she meets with you. But you're completely in your rights to not want to be around him. Tell your friend you love and care for her, but not him, and now you no longer trust him. Maybe someday you will again. But since you aren't in love with him, it's going to take you a lot longer than it takes her. Exactly. Why can't he let OP hang out with her friend alone? If I were him, I wouldn't want to be around the people who know the ugly truth. Because he wants everyone to pretend he didn't do anything, and OP is ruining his plans. It sounds to me like he went back because he's broke, not because he cared. Yep, he wants to remain as the good guy he thinks he is in everyone's eyes. See, these issues are never likely to happen to me with my friends because they all know there are no second chances for my partner if it's about cheating. And if I ask an opinion, idea, or advice, I only ever want the truth and what they think. If I find out a friend knew my partner was cheating and didn't tell me, the partner is gone and the friendship is over with the friend who didn't tell me. All my friends know to tell me if they ever knew. Trust is everything to me. You can't build anything without it. If you know your friends well enough, you know how your response is going to be taken when you or they tell this news. I have friends who have told me their partner cheated, and I asked if they wanted me to help plan partner's life to implode further. I knew those friends would be done with their partner and would want some mild revenge. Other friends just want a vent and or want sympathy, and I know they won't leave their partner, so I just listen. I don't say leave their cheating arse or anything negative about partner because I know they won't leave their partner. Those friends have never told me they want me to tell them their partner is cheating if they were. If they aren't going to leave, I'm not going to put myself in the way where I feel uncomfortable because I spoke my mind. But my friends stayed, and now both know I'm not a fan of cheater, and it will make me put up barriers with the cheater. To me, cheating is a character flaw, and a choice I don't think people do if they love you. This 100% happened to my husband's sister. She temporarily took her husband back and lashed out at anyone she could that she thought was against her husband. She's using you to be angry at instead of her husband. She had to cut contact for a while, and she eventually left because her anger was back where it belonged. Not the a-hole. No, OP is not the a-hole. It's completely reasonable for OP to have boundaries and not be ready to see their friend's husband after what he did. OP's friends should respect their feelings and understand that it's a personal choice for them. It's important for the OP to prioritize their own well-being and comfort in this situation. The OP has been supportive throughout, even if their best friend may not fully realize it. OP needs to communicate their concerns with their friend and reaffirm their support for her, but also make it clear that their boundaries should be respected. Thanks for watching. Let me know down below if you agree with the verdict. Also, consider checking out my other channel, Star_Vingart, where I post my artwork, and my Etsy, StarVingartCompany, where I sell my art prints and stickers. Bye!